I'm also curious about the songs you choose to perform. The repertoire had a distinct character by the Roanoke. Could you tell us
Mhm.
how the material for the band was typically chosen?
Mhm. Uh, we tried to feature a lot of the instruments that we had at that time. It was Joe Carr, of course, on guitar, Dan Huckabee, who was a national champion dobro player. So we did a lot of music that featured the dobro. I mean, I think you mentioned one time in one of our conversations, Aloha, the song
Yeah.
Aloha. That was a Walter Hyatt, I think it was, song. And we did that one mainly because to feature the instrument. We eventually got Mark Maniscalco that came in on banjo, another national champion of a banjo player. So we started doing a lot of just different music that featured those instruments a lot too. And of course, we had to do the singing because that was it's what you did. You played out in public and played at the Chelsea streets. But we played a lot of festivals. We did was a festival band, and uh, to show off them guys. What happened too, I'll take you a little history on there. We played a lot in Austin. Austin was back in those days really was the scene of Texas. Texas music, bluegrass, folk. And so anybody who wanted to play music, we ended up in Austin a lot. It just so happened that Chelsea Street had two Chelsea Streets in Austin, so we played Austin quite a lot. And a lot of bluegrass people started coming around, hanging around Chelsea's because we were there. And Austin had a big scene in the folk and bluegrass music. Well, Alan Mundy, who was a banjo player, we can get into them guys here in a little bit, but he hung around in Chelsea Street whenever we were there because he liked to come and see the bluegrass and then became a good friend. That's where I met Alan, and he would come see us as we come through the town for a year or so. And there was a time when all of a sudden the Roanoke band was doing pretty good. We did state fair and things like that for the gigs. And Alan and the Country Gazette were looking for a guitar player. I think it was I can't remember who was it, the guitar player at that time. I don't know if it was Kenny Wirtz or not. Anyway, they decided they didn't want to travel anymore. Alan approached Joe Carr about coming and being with the Gazette. Well, that was a big shock to us because Joe was our upfront man. You know, you couldn't find another upfront man like Joe, and especially guitar player too. So that kind of threw a wrench into what we were going to do as a Roanoke band. Well, it was 2 weeks later, and Joe called me up and said, "Hey, Bill Bryson doesn't want to be with the Gazette anymore. He's tired of traveling, and would I be interested in coming with the Gazette?" And at first, it was kind of interesting. I didn't know if I wanted to travel that much or not, but I jumped on that opportunity because I was still in my mid-20s and ready to go. Well, what made that a nice transition was that Joe and I had already been playing together, and we actually played a lot of the Gazette songs. That was an eye opener, kind of to backtrack a little bit. What really got us really going in the bluegrass music was when the Gazette put out their first album, that Traitor in Our Midst. That just opened up the eyes for all of us. We thought that this is the bluegrass music we wanted to play. Traditional was always really good. We tried to stay as traditional as we could. But when we heard the album and saw the album, which was kind of interesting, and we already played some music that was going on from the Kentucky Colonels, so we kind of fell right in there. Well, me and Joe had played a lot of those music that the Gazette was already doing. So as that transition came in, we were already ready just to go out on the road. It didn't take much rehearsing and all. We just kind of played the same songs. Joe became the upfront man, so and I knew what Joe did, so it was kind of fun. We could go back and forth together. Alan Mundy, who's a wonderful musician and a wonderful person, added a lot to Joe's humor. You know, because Alan's pretty dry humor. So it was a interesting time in my life to transition into from being just a local musician, jumping right in there with your international bluegrass band with the Gazette. Very neat time in my life.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael. Get back to Joe Carr a little bit. Uh, if I may add my personal note, I once reached out to Joe by email, asking for help transcribing the chord progression of the Homer and Jethro version of I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now. Very nice song. To my surprise and delight, he replied with the chords just a few days later. I was deeply moved. Was that typical of him? Did you also see that same generosity in how he treated those around him?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, Joe. They loved talking music, loved playing music, of course, and they loved helping people. We did a lot of workshops, and Joe was a big part of the workshops, along with Alan. They were both very innovative and tablature, putting out their books. It makes me smile when you say that about Joe. I don't know if you were familiar with the. I forgot what it might have been. I don't think it was Mel Bay, but somebody had put out a book of his mandolin playing, and I noticed that he had like 6 fingers on the fretboard in the book, and it was kind of a joke about this is how you play mandolin, and you had more than 5 fingers, and I always thought that was funny. That was Joe's humor. I forgot what that was, but it was a tablature book, but it was funny. Did a lot of that. Did a lot of the workshops. That was one of the exciting things that we got to do. We got to do a lot of workshops, and so I got to see Joe play. Alan Roland. Roland was a wonderful in the workshops. I think a lot of the workshops was very informative, but I think it was very personal too, because I spent a lot of time with the students, like you said, with Joe corresponding with you, and it was very personal. You could see that these guys were really into helping the younger people, especially, kind of bring it forward, keeping it going. So they were a big part of that particular part of the bluegrass music, and I think it's where a lot of it come in today.
All right, thank you so much. We're talking about the Country Gazette. You are part of 2 landmark Country Gazette albums, All This and Money Too, 1979, and American Queen, 1981. I have to say, All This has always been my favorite. Your vocals absolutely shine on tracks like I'm Your Boy, where you completely own the lead, and Old Fashioned Love, which brings a great Western swing feel into the Gazette sound. What do you remember about making all this? How did you approach your role vocally in those sessions?
Okay, that was a music project. We were Slim Ritchie, who was our kind of a producer, I guess, of ours, a musician friend for all of us for years. Even knew him back in my earliest days. We were hired on at a place called Art Park up in New York State as a group, and we just didn't want to go up there and just play. And Slim Ritchie had the idea, why don't we create a show, create a project? So that's what happened. These different songs were kind of chosen from each one of us. We would have a contribution to throw in there to say which song we want to do. We ended up taking on a dobro player who also played steel guitar, and we took a drummer up there with us too. And this project became a 2-week long. We had 2 weeks to practice and things like that. Put all this project together for a final concert at the end of the 2 weeks. But during the day, we would be out right outside of Niagara Falls, up there in the park, playing daytime concerts for people just to stroll around. And we were on a little stage, and it was a lot of fun. It was all acoustic then. Then we'd go around and have the rest of the time and during the daytimes to put this album together, put the songs together. And each one of those songs on that particular album were put together that 2 weeks and performed as a concert, as our project for the ending of our the stay there at the art park. Came back home and went straight into the studio and recorded that album. We couldn't get the dobro player to come back down to Texas, so we used some Texas musicians to fill in that part of it. But that's how that album came across. It's kind of electric. You can tell with Slim playing electric guitar through there, and with the steel guitar and drums. It was a little bit different from what we had been doing, but yet I think it took us back to that flavor of the Flying Burrito Brothers and things like that. Get us kind of into that genre, I guess, of music. But we still stayed acoustic everywhere else we went. But that particular album was a project.
That's great. You mentioned that Frank Brito Brothers. I think I'm Your Boy is their repertoire, right? One of theirs.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
I'm Your Boy,
Yeah.
the song, is one of the Frank Brito Brothers repertoire, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's your choice.
Yeah, I can't remember who the songwriter was, but yes, we had heard it on one of their albums. Sure had. Yeah.
So
Joe actually brought that one to the group. Yeah, Joe brought that one to the band. Yeah.
Okay. And was the Western swing flavor something you brought in intentionally to that album?
That particular one, I think Highland Dream is on that particular album. Is it? Or is it? No, I'm not sure if it's on that album or not.
It's Old Fashioned Love.
Old Fashioned Love. Yeah.
Right,
That's the roots. That's my roots of the swing. Western swing and all.
I love that song. Yeah, I love that song.
I think that was kind of part of the project. Slim Richie kind of wanted to put in different genres of all kinds of what we had done in our lives. So yeah, I think he brought that one in because of my roots with the Western swing. Yeah.
That's great. Great. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. Your recent songs like Remember Who You Are and I'm Still Searching really moved me. They feel deeply personal. Songs that carry memory, landscape, and ancestry within them. These aren't just songs about the past, but seem to come from the past and yet speak to the present in a quiet, powerful way. Could you tell us about what inspired these songs and what you are exploring musically and personally in this current phase of your life?
Yes. Well, you're exactly right. That's kind of what those songs were. They, like I said earlier, whenever I got back into playing music, I just didn't want to be a strumming guitar player out there. Found the ukulele. And it seems like when I had first found the ukulele, I was playing and writing songs on it. Didn't even know what the chords were. It just playing something that sounded kind of cool. And my buddy I play with now, Terry Razor, said, I'm playing hard rhythm ukulele. And so it's interesting. But what happened, I do have a lot of the family heritage, so it gave me a lot of material to pull from by having that type of heritage. One of the first songs there was when you're talking about I'm Still Searching. Back in the earlier days, it's the only time we ever went back to really Norse was to go to a funeral. It was of a cousin or somebody in the family. And we would just rush down there, do the funeral, and then come back home, back up to the Fort Worth area in Texas. And we never could ever really have time to look around at the old homesteads that they all lived in. So I wrote that song about searching for the old homestead, and from a lot of the stories that they had talked about, when they, of course, mentioning my mom playing harmonica and my grandfather playing fiddle and the tunes and all. And then the Norwegian saying was they settled into North Texas, Central Texas in the mid 1800s. So some of the music that I tried to pull in there, that feel in that particular song, was starting off with the modern day kind of fiddle tunes and then going back in time to the time. And that's what I hoped to get when I was playing the ukulele in that, go back to that time of the, what they felt like whenever they did come over from the Norwegian country into Texas. So that kind of, that's how that song came about. We kept looking for the old home place. Finally found it, finally went down there. Every time we visit Norse, which is the Central Texas area, we seem to find a new cousin, somebody else that we're related to, and they would have another story to add to the compilation of all the music. So that's kind of how I'm Still Searching came about. We were still looking for it. Now the other one, Remember Who You Are, it's kind of on the same line of how that one came. We were down there for a Norwegian society meeting. A lot of the elders were at the meeting, and they were talking about the old stories and all, and they get about halfway through the story and stop, and they couldn't remember anymore, and they'd say, well, so and so, if she was here, she would be able to tell us. Well, we left the meeting that night, and on the way home started writing that song of Remember Who You Are, because I was thinking that, well, a lot of these memories are in the on the headstones of the graveyard that's around the church. So I thought it was really important for these people to not only, if they can't remember the stories, they could always remember the headstones on the in the graveyard. So that particular song was kind of about remember who you are, that they do have roots, and if they can't remember what that family was, there's a lot of stories of the gravestones in the particular church. Those churches, my grandfather's there's there's a big circle of churches all through the country there, one built after the other, and they were all involved with the churches. So, and then building those churches. So that had a lot to do with who's in the graveyards, who's in the represented in those graveyards too. So that particular song was written about remembering who they are. If they don't remember, we'll go visit the graveyards and read some of the tombstones. And let's see about that. One of my aunts did a family history a family tree, and had a lot of the different information about the family in that particular tree. She traced it back to 1510. And so it had a lot of stories about what happened between here and there on that family tree. But a lot of it ended up that I carry that family tree book when I go down there each time to find different relatives that's down there. But a lot of that, remember who you are, kind of comes from that family tree. And then just being at that meeting, thinking that these people really can't remember the stories because there's none of the elders weren't there anymore to keep the stories going. So a lot of these songs that I wrote, this has a lot to do with that. It's another one on that particular album called "There's a Place on the Ship." I don't know if you remember that one or not. That was one of the videos I think was sent you, and that also was written about coming over on the ship from Norway to Central Texas. You know, not knowing what they're getting into. All they knew is they're just going to get on the ship and come to Texas, just leaving all their roots. So that's what that particular song was about. What I'm Still Searching is really kind of searching for your old homestead. Everybody who has an old home and roots is always searching for their hometown and home roots and homesteads. So I'm Still Searching is really a song about searching for your roots
and your family.
And your family.
I'm still searching. Teach me all the old songs. Red wing on the harp and over the waves on the fiddle. Oh, how we played, and they'd tell the stories of times not long ago. And as the fruit of roots they started, I'll keep on searching. They told about a place they called the Gap in Bosque County. Across the pond they came to plant their roots and raise a family. From the old rock church I've traveled outward on winding roads of valleys, I'm still searching. I'll find the old home and the roots of which I'm from. I'll look away, I'll find you someday. I'm still searching. I'll look away, I'll find you someday. I'm still searching. I'm still searching. Oh, I'm still searching. They talked about a place on Gary Creek in Bosque County. I'm still